In Catholic schools, we're lucky to be very involved in the whole design process, all the way through the project management of the building. When I first came here, I wasn't too comfortable with the plans that have been produced, so I worked with the architects to completely redesign the spaces, very much based on our school-wide pedagogy. It's being attentive to the learner's disposition, rigorous and challenging, and forged in relationships. There's lots of language that comes below that, but essentially that is our school-wide pedagogy.
Something I really like about our new learning spaces is that the students have choice and they self-direct their own learning a lot of the time. So they can choose where they want to stand up, kneel down, sit down, lie down, depending on what the activity calls for and depending what they feel will help them learn the best. So that's something I've really enjoyed as a teacher, and I know that they've really enjoyed it as well.
I felt like everybody was squashed together, but now that it's a bigger open learning space, it makes me feel more welcome.
It supports the teaching and learning through having different options for the learning space. So we can have students working on the floor, they can be on the high table, we can have small groups using the whiteboard tables, which has been fabulous for those small group situations. And it's really focused on student choice. The students have the opportunity to use the learning spaces as they see fit.
I love how the learning spaces are really collaborative and you can really forge relationships.
You can always work together because they're not separate tables. Everyone can use them.
So the way that I use this space changes daily depending on the lesson that's happening at the time. So if we need to clear the room, we can clear the room and easily move all the tables around and the chairs.
I particularly enjoyed working with the architects we used. It was JDH Architects at Sydney company. I'd probably give two pieces of advice. The first advice would be make sure the architects have a very clear understanding of learning at your school, and make sure that they have a deep understanding, not a surface level understanding. So then they can design the spaces you want. And secondly, be a strong voice, and if you don't like something, say it. Make sure that what you receive is exactly what you're after.
Having the option of having an open classroom where the grades can kind of work between the classrooms, but then also having the option to close the door when we have those quieter lessons. It's been great for collaboration.
I feel very fortunate that as a school we can have new learning spaces, and in our classrooms there's always somewhere to work in, and you can work in groups or separate. It's always your choice, and you can even open the classroom doors so you can see each other.
We do a lot of STEM, so I teach Year 4 and we've just, for example, finished a unit on forces, and at the end of the unit the students created a Rube Goldberg machine, and they actually used the furniture as part of the machine. So it started at the top on the standing desks, then it went down onto the normal desks, then it went down onto the floor. So the furniture actually became part of the learning, which was really cool and really interesting to see.
The new space makes me feel really inspired and makes me want to do my best.
So the new furniture we have in our classrooms at the moment is fantastic. I think the main reason is that it's so functional, and I think it's so easy to adapt lesson to lesson instead of week to week. So for one lesson you're able to adjust the furniture, very easy to move around the classroom, and the children are able to do it as well.
I have two pieces of furniture that I love. I love the high benches because they allow for a tiered learning space, so I can have children standing up higher looking at things that I'm modelling on the floor, or they can be sitting on the floor and looking at what we're doing. And I also love that they can choose to stand or sit on the high stools depending on how they're feeling. And I love the whiteboard tables because they allow for learning to be immediate. So you can walk over with your whiteboard texture and just start to write on the tables. It's a risk-free environment, so children aren't as afraid to kind of scribble down their ideas on the whiteboard tables in the way that they may be hesitant with a pencil on paper.
I really like the whiteboard tables, especially in maths, because if you're struggling you can always work out problems.
I love the style of the furniture, and working with Furnware was easy because they were listening. They were listening to what I was after for learning within my school. I wanted to work with a company that was also passionate about learning, passionate about making a difference for every single student in our school.